this is where one of the big questions was, if you want to understand how our solar system formed, we have to explain why all of these planets are, for example, in this one plane. And then also, of course, there are other questions why they are moving in the same direction and rotating in the same direction as well. There are exceptions, but in general, they do that. And all of this stuff gets explained by the sort of our theory of the formation of the solar system, which says that we were part of a big nebula, our sun formed from it, and it was rotating as it collapsed into our sun. Along with the material around it, it collapsed into a disk, and out of that disk, that you have these planets formed out of that. And because the disk material was moving in a certain way, as you would imagine all of that material to be spiraling or spinning in one direction, this is exactly how the planets formed and how the planets are rotating.
And why they're in the same plane. I think of this, I know that there's pressure from below. This isn't a perfect analogy, but if you're on a pottery wheel, you get a big chunk of clay and it's spinning, 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 and you push on it, it eventually turns into a disc.
So it's a conservation of angular momentum. And so this is the direction, which is the least opposing direction. So there is no preferable direction in space. But when you are rotating, there is a one particular direction where it's going to be less resistance, and this is the direction how it's going to collapse in. And so that's how planets form, and that's the reason you find planets more or less in a sort of in an ecliptic or in a plane, and that happens everywhere. So most solar systems, almost all of the solar systems we see, in general, we see them in those lines because that is how planets form around stars.